If you can't be honest, you'll never be free. Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. 3 things you'll discover today: how truth creates real transformation, why self-honesty is the rarest courage, and what to do when honesty feels risky. Let's start with the quote. If you can't be honest, you'll never be free. And I would say that honesty is something that is beneath a lot of layers. And we bring up that word courage in one of the points that you'll learn about here. And for anyone to be honest, you must first be courageous, right? On the lower end of the spectrum, if we're using the consciousness framework, what you have below courage, the level of 200, is helplessness, fear, anger, and the list goes on. Those sorts of vibrations deter you from honesty. So here's the thing, you can be both scared and courageous simultaneously. So that means that when you have the courage to look at your fear rather than be drowned by your fear, right? Then you move through it. Just like you're going to get crashed by a wave if you don't dive through it. You have to dive into your fear. And it takes strength to say, you know what? That's what we're doing right here. It's time to look, whether it be fear, a helplessness, anger, jealousy, right? Whatever you're feeling, you have to look at it consciously. You don't need to try to think yourself to a solution. See, that's the trap of the mind. But you just need to realize and to say, you know what, man, this thing is getting to me. Not necessarily speak that out loud, but recognize within your being, oh, I am hinged upon something. Now, I could tell you a little story, but I'll just share the structure with you ultimately, because it's just quite relevant. So I'm not here to make this about me. The story is provided so you can learn and put yourself in the shoes of the character in the story. And ultimately, what was getting to me was this idea of finding, right? You've heard it before, some form of perfect job, some form of dream job that just suits me super well, right? And what I realized was I was just focused on the wrong thing. And I got to a point where I could feel the conflict in my being. I was considering this over weeks and weeks, maybe even a month. So it was ongoing. And I got to this point where I could not continue to force and force. And I surrender. Right? I ask my heart for help. I ask God for help. I'm sitting with myself, just realizing I cannot keep forcing this. I'm going to have to surrender and let go and just hope that, put my faith in what's grander than my logical thinking, right? And the next day, I'll tell you, something more than a solution happened. I had a conversation with a specific person, and it just changed my whole perspective. And it's like not coincidental whatsoever that the day was like within 48 hours of me saying, you know, I just can't keep forcing this. I have to surrender. I surrender, please. Like I need some help. When I did that, then less than 48 hours, you know what I mean? So I digress with the story. But this honesty, it's, first of all, you got to be honest about where you're at. So I'll give you a few levels. If you're feeling extremely chaotic in terms of you don't have any grounding, then you need to look at simplicity of fundamental structure. And that is the simple things that a human being needs: movement, fresh air, sunlight, healthy food, and not too much. That's stage one. Stage two is kind of stop doing things, right? Stage one is okay, make sure your fundamentals are in check. Because you can't be honest if you don't have these few things in order. Number one is fundamentals. Number two is what your things that you need to not do. One would be excess scrolling, too much phone, too much internet. Two would be excess caffeine. You're going to get a theme here. Three would be like excess sugar and excess processed foods. So delete those things. I know it builds off of the fundamentals, but delete those things, right? Wasting of emotional energy, wanting, living in your desires and not acting, not creating, but simply desiring, going from shiny object to shiny object. Too much stimulus, right? Short form brain rot. The list goes on and on. Even too much music, like rap music, low vibrational things. It's like, look at the low vibrational things in your life and let go of them. Not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not at all saying that. But we have to be honest with ourselves about what is keeping us dishonest. We have to be able to recognize what's keeping us weak and how that weakness affects everything that we do and create in our lives, because it's our aura that we're creating, and the aura doesn't lie. It's moment by moment. Your energy, your consciousness, like you may be able to say certain words, but you can't hide what you're radiating. It's just a question of, is someone able to read it? Because if someone can read you, you can't hide. And that's what's happening for humanity, is consciousness expands in a manner where people are doing the work. People are going to be able to read you like a book unless you can read yourself and then therefore move moment to moment. And when you're moving moment to moment, then you're not readable because you don't even know what you're going to do next, because you're letting consciousness guide you. See, what weakness is, it's the idea that you're smarter than what created this entire world. The thing is, you can let what created this entire world work through you by noticing how you block out the space for it to work through you. You don't like practice. No, there's not a single method, a routine, something that you can do to let consciousness work through you. It's holistic. So there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be roller coasters, but it's all about, you notice what you feel, you question how you think, and you understand the nature of programming. You look at your trapped emotions from the past. You notice how stimulus links to memory and how memory links to thought that is shared in the form of knowledge and experience. You are aware of your being, right? So yeah, you use your logic when necessary. You use your intuition when necessary. You don't use anything when necessary. You're just there and you listen and you let it all go. You got to get good at kind of feeling the space which is between the lines. The things that these words can't hint at is the essence of how you flow. Like, I can't make a video how you flow and give you some bullshit thing. Like, a lot of people get trapped in that, and so I digress. But this is the importance of being honest, is I'd much rather not sugarcoat the thing for you, because it's not something I have. I'm just sharing my journey, right? And freaking right now in 2025, a lot of the population can't even listen to something like this. They can't comprehend it because they've been so distilled to be a secondhand version of themselves. If they were forced to sit and listen to this for a long time, well, then maybe something would change, but that's not it, because the word force is weak itself. So you kind of got to understand, all right, this universe is extraordinarily beautiful and complicated, but simple. As in, all right, everyone's at their own place in their journey. You got to get good at realizing who you are, what your destiny, your individual destiny is meant to be, all kind of understanding how to collaborate with the group. And that means not isolating yourself, not judging those who are weak, because you were once weak. Some point in your journey, you may have came across someone who was at where you're at right now. And do you think they judged you? Maybe, who knows? Don't even need to bring in like past lives or anything weird like that. It's just the simplicity of, do you think they would have judged you? No. So you don't judge these other people who are still currently maybe asleep. And they will wake up. And if you're on the hinge of waking up, this is the sort of content that when I was walking my path a few years ago, there was a point in my season where listening to podcasts and listening to Watts and Ram Dass and Krishnamurti had been so helpful for keeping me grounded because I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, man, am I insane? Yeah, I'm insane. I'm not insane. I'm like, super intelligent, not super intelligent. Like the whole thing is kind of having that humility created in you through the things that you deeply feel. And you got to be honest to deeply feel, right? That's the only way your consciousness is going to expand. Is but thought creates feeling too, so you have to notice how you think as well, and the whole relationship between time, thought, memory, past, knowledge, experience, and emotion. And just then it goes into the unconscious, right? You have the interpersonal relationships with others, you have desire, all these different grief and greed, and the list goes on. The world is extraordinarily vast. So it's like, man, what do you do? What do you got to do? And for me, some things come to the forefront in terms of practicalities, which would be simplicity. So, meaning simplicity in clothing, simplicity in action, simplicity in speech, and simplicity in organization. So, you're clear, you're orderly, but you're not like attached to being a disciplined psychopath, right? Where you're hiding your insecurity within mechanistic routine because you're too scared to let your heart guide you and be spontaneous, right? You think you mess something up if you get rid of a little bit of discipline, but that's not the case. So for me, I had to get super disciplined, then get undisciplined, then get a bit more disciplined in a spontaneous way. That's how this whole thing works. Take the caterpillar, the metamorphosis, the butterfly. It's something like that too. Yeah. And see, this is the thing. I like to say this often because it's true. Nature, if you'll just watch and look at it and observe and learn about nature, immerse yourself in the wildlife of this world, you'll see that all the truth is there. It's like, man, babies are so beautiful. Sometimes the baby bird falls out of the nest and then you just see this skeleton. Breaks your heart. That happens. Polar bear finds a cute baby seal, rips it apart, eats it alive. That happens. Sometimes people are stuck in a blizzard and God graces them, and somehow, some way, they find a cave or a shelter. That's beautiful. That's hard. The list goes on, right? Hitler, the beautiful oceans. Then you got tornadoes. Do you get what I'm hinting at? The level of complexity. Now, you may say, okay, yeah, we know this, right? Well, why are you talking about it? Well, just to understand that there's this intelligence that is so much beyond you. That's the secret to this life. I mean, if there's any secret, it's learning how to let that guide you. Like realizing that you can be in communion with the thing that created the entire universe. And you can't force it, but I mean, look at what your life is when you're too busy to be in communion with it. Look at your life. So I know that was a lot for the quote. We're 15 minutes in, basically. But, well, actually, edits. I digress. How truth creates real transformation. And honestly, it's that marinating process of purification via the fire. The truth hurts. Honesty hurts. But then you hurt less because you're strong enough to carry your gift, which is the responsibility, which when you're weak feels like it's a double-edged. It feels like a blade. It feels like you got stabbed in your back, but that sword, you take it out of your back and then you wield it. That's essentially, and you wield it in a manner not where you're battling anything, but you have the sword of the flames, right? And when you carry that sword of fire and it's shaped with your own blood, You know what you've went through and you know who you are and you don't forget that. Of course, the universe will grace you and grace you and grace you with humility, but that doesn't mean you don't know who you are. So that's the truth that creates the transformation is knowing who you are. And you only do that through knowing who you're not. So you got to look at who you are when you're wearing that mask, when it's dominating your life. And you got to question it and ask for help and surrender and clean up and grow up and how you treat others and how you think of others and how you use your energy. It's like you clean up a bit, then you realize your energy is so much more than you ever could have logically thought. And then that's in motion, then you realize the importance of not wasting energy, which is growing up, right? Growing up is not wasting energy in simple terms. When you don't waste energy, then you marinate. The cauldron starts to fucking bubble. And then you get that. God says, oh man, this guy's working, all right. Communion, something of that nature, light speed, insight, consciousness changed forever for your soul, for your spirit. Yeah, G. G. Some good stuff. Why self-honesty is the rarest courage. I mean, rarest, not necessarily. But, like, well, how do I put it? Self-honesty it's an alchemy. It's an alchemy because you feel something that hurts you, then you look at it and you learn to see beauty in the hurt. And then you don't even know, like, so what's bad and what's good, right? If the pain is something which is necessary for the good, is the pain bad? This is where you'll hear quotes like the devil is God's agent. And that's very, in this big nature, if you can really zoom out and understand the power of creation itself, yes, the devil is God's agent. They are not in battle. They're not separate things. Sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it feels like that, but that's not the truth. The truth is that there's only one. And there's only one. And you really think that one who created all of this world could be so weak that someone else could battle him? No. No, the devil is God's agent. And that's just, yeah, I digress. So what to do when honesty feels risky? Man, you surrender to what your heart is kind of screaming to you. And the thing is that your mind doesn't want to see it. Hopefully the story I told before helps you understand it. But logically, I was forcing. And I had to be honest. I had to say, you know what? Something isn't right. Something isn't working. I'm burning myself unnecessarily. And I surrender. I'm like, man, that honesty, it feels risky. I need to surrender. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I don't know what's happening. And I just have to surrender. So ultimately, I hope you enjoyed that. I appreciate you. My dog's having some movements in his sleep. That's funny. The moment I talked about that, I think he woke up. And thank you so much for listening. Share it with a friend, please. Just kidding. Not please. How about share it with a friend? Why not? Yeah, it's the same thing. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And if you want to work one-on-one, do this high-level consciousness work. I don't have any promises or any transformation for you. I mean, besides, I could help you get physically ripped. I can guarantee you that. If you're interested, just shoot me an email down below. I'll also have a link to sign up and get the emails. So have a great day.